morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you very much for joining to this online event organized under the framework of Ready for Heat project. As we are waiting and slowly starting with the webinar, I will just quickly introduce myself. My name is Francesca Tamburrini. I am a EU Project Manager at the European Heat Pump Association, and I'm very happy to be your host for the next hour and a half. And here with us, we have other three speakers coming from the consortium of the project of Ready for Heat. I will just maybe give a very short introduction of the protagonist of today, so Ready for Heat. We started this journey almost 3 years ago, in October 2022, with the aim of supporting the implementation of the Renewable Energy Directive provisions on heating and cooling, and assisting the member states and the local authorities in that process. How we did it, basically by providing a better understanding of all the shortcomings in the different strategies and trying to propose a set of recommendations to address them, including the strategic policy priorities for heating and cooling, policy adoption scenarios, best practices, and more. These actions have been completed by the development of different tools, such as the Knowledge Sharing Center, the Heat Transition Toolbox, and different capacity building events and that we have organized in the 5 member states that were the target of our project. To give you a very brief insight regarding today webinar, maybe let's check together the agenda. We are going to start now with a short introduction, but then we are going to hear about the key findings from our project activities. We will walk you through the analysis of relevant EU legislation that are related to the heating and cooling sector and highlight the main gaps that we have identified, explaining how the insight help us to shape the targeted recommendation for the deployment of the renewable heating and cooling solution across the different countries of the project, to include them in the NECPs. And this presentation will be provided by Rosi Christodoulaki, coordinator also of Ready for Heat. Next, we will introduce you one of the tools we developed during the project supporting the transition and the Knowledge Sharing Center, thanks to Silvia Remedios from ADENE, from the Energy Agency of Portugal. And finally, because replication is at the heart of our project impact as well, we are going to hear from different national replication workshops in these 3 countries you can see here, Belgium, France, and Netherlands, sharing the experiences and lessons learned along the way, thanks to Esteban Gast. And there will be some time for questions before the closing of the event. Then lastly, before introducing the speaker, as you can see, this is a Teams webinar platform event, so participants are not able to turn on the camera or microphone, but you can still write in the chat or in the Q&A section. So if you have any question or if you like to ask a speaker, just add in the chat the question, tagging the person you are referring to, and I'm going to take care of it. And yeah, the webinar is recorded. So for all the people who could enjoy, we are going to share it online together with the presentation and with an article summarizing the main topics and the main finding of the event. But let's start with the first speaker introduction. So we have Rosi Christodoulaki, Dr. Rosi Christodoulaki, that is actually a senior renewable energy solution specialist at the Center for Renewable Energy Sources and Savings, Renewable Energy Division, Solar Energy and Energy Storage Department. She's holding a PhD in concentrating solar collector, a PhD in solar cooling with liquid desiccants, a master in environmental design and engineering, and a bachelor in physics. More than 15 years theoretical and practical experience in solar system, and her research interests focus mainly in dynamic simulation, techno-economic assessment, policy consultation on RES, heating and cooling system, and energy efficiency. She's also a member of different expert group, and she has served also as EU proposal evaluator, editor for Energies, and more than 34 journal publications, so a real expert. Rosi, I can give you the floor if you want to take control of the presentation, and yeah. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Francesca. It is very nice to see you all. I hope that we have a wonderful webinar today with very useful presentations from all Ready for Heat partners. It is with my great pleasure to participate in this webinar that European Heat Pump Association and Francesca Tamburini organized with very much eager. So today we will speak about the recommendations for the uptake of renewable energy sources in especially heating and cooling sector. So we all know that the heating and cooling sector is a very important sector that contributes to the decarbonization goals. And today we will discuss how measures can be applied in the heating and cooling sector in order to facilitate and accelerate the energy climate goals of the European Union. And also, we will lastly speak about recommendations for further renewable energy sources deployment, as those have been the most important findings from the Ready for Heat project. So the contents of the presentation is the introduction, a short update on the legislation, European legislation for heating and cooling, and the NECPs, which are the national targets and measures that will be transposed into national legislation regarding heating and cooling. And we will give the example of Greece, the targets, measures, and projections of the heating and cooling. And last but not least, we will present our recommendations. So we know that the total energy consumption, the share across the sectors is that transportation, the transportation share is 28%, electricity share is 23% of the global energy consumption, and the heating and cooling, that it is often misunderstood and not taken too much for granted, is the bulk, which is the 49%. So in Ready for Heat project, we see the heating and cooling as the hidden giant, as you see in the just-in picture. So regarding the energy consumption, the share of energy from renewable sources in heating and cooling, these are the latest figures from the statistical data from the European Union. It is the 40% of the global CO2 emissions, and only the 26.2% as average of the energy used for heating and cooling comes from renewable sources. This is the EU average, as you can see in the graph in this slide. Obviously, each EU member state has a different share of renewable energy sources in heating and cooling, but the average of the European Union is approximately 26%. Of course, we have seen an increase, about 11% in the share of RES from 2004 to 2023, mainly due to the update of legislation regarding buildings and renewable energy sources. Regarding households, the households represent the 26% of the final energy consumption in the EU, and the specific consumption of households has decreased in recent years, as you see in this figure with the blue columns is the space heating consumption in 2000, and the orange columns is the space heating consumption 22 years later. So you can see that the orange column is in some countries slightly decreased, and in other countries more in the decrease has been more intense. 6 countries have appear to have a very big decrease, such as in Ireland, Latvia, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Romania, and Slovenia. So these 6 countries have succeeded a very big decrease in the space heating consumption. Now, what kind of energy sources are used in the households? As an overall, as an average, we would say the EU uses natural gas by 31% to heat and cool the households, electricity by 25%, renewables by only 22%, and heating oil by 11%. And the main uses of energy inside the households is obviously space heating, water heating, electricity, and space cooling. But why bother decarbonizing heating and cooling? Because heating and cooling has a high impact. Decarbonization of heating and cooling has a high impact because it accounts for 50% of the energy consumption in buildings. And at the same time, most systems still rely on fossil fuels that emit CO2 emissions and deteriorate the quality of the atmosphere that we breathe. A second reason to decarbonize heating and cooling is that sustainable heating and cooling systems have low GHG emissions, greenhouse gas emissions. We all know that fossil fuel-based heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems release greenhouse gases and they drive global warming. So reducing these emissions helps to meet the EU climate targets, such as the Paris Agreement, the EU Green Deal, the Sustainable Development Goals 7, 13, and 15. So this is very important. Decarbonization of heating and cooling is very important. And not only this, but the decarbonization of heating and cooling puts low stress to the grid. During extreme weather, the heating and cooling, the conventional heating and cooling systems use spikes, stressing the grid and potentially leading to blackouts. And this is seen especially during the summer, where all turn on their air condition at the same time, and many frequent blackouts are happening, especially in Southern Europe. So the efficient systems can reduce peak demand and allow integration of renewable energy sources. Last but not least, decarbonization of heating and cooling has economic benefits, such as energy efficient or low carbon system, cut energy bills over time because they utilize less energy, and also they utilize renewable energy sources, which in many cases the source is free. Also, sustainable heating and cooling systems often they are incentivized by the countries. So we have incentives, we have tax credits, and all this results in lower capex and opex. So it makes the sustainable heating and cooling systems financially appealing. And also, when a building has sustainable heating and cooling systems, it is led to a higher energy class, and therefore it has a higher value. Now, the current legislation related to the heating and cooling is the Renewable Energy Directive, which was released in late 2023, the Energy Efficiency Directive, the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, and in national level, we have the National Energy and Climate Plans, which were released in 2024. So, the most important measure, this slide shows the most important measures in each directive related to heating and cooling. I will not read them analytically, but I will go straight away to the National Energy and Climate Plans, which are the part of Clean Energy for All European package. They are the principal documents produced by EU member states to detail their key climate targets and actions for the next decade and beyond. They actually refer up to short-term targets up to 2030 and to long-term targets up to 2050. They outline how the EU countries intend to address the 5 dimensions of the energy union, which is decarbonization, energy efficiency, energy security, internal energy market, and research and innovation. The previous full set of plans was finalized in 2019. The drafts were submitted in 2023. The drafts were assessed by the European Union, and the final set was due in June 2024. Some countries did not meet the deadline, most of them, but today we have June 2025. We have 23 submitted, 23 plans out of 27. So we have 4 still pending. Now, the Commission assessment of the draft plans showed the significant progress in the section of renewable energy, but the EU requested further improvements. The EU saw ambition gaps, bottlenecks, and missing links towards the 2030 targets, and requested by all countries to update their NECPs as soon as possible. Now, in the framework of Ready for Heat project, we reviewed the heating and cooling measures, all the partners, and we focused obviously at the heating and cooling plans in order to highlight the main points of concern and to pave the way and set the right direction towards a timely and accelerated energy and climate policy implementation. We take now the example of Greece, and we will dive into the targets, the policy measures, and the projections that the NECPs, the NECP of Greece is included. And in Greece, we can see 3 periods from 2025 to 2030, a rapid penetration of renewable energy sources in electricity generation. The second period is from 2030 to 2040 with the fast electrification of the final energy consumption, and the final period from 2040 to 2050, the hard-to-abate sectors are addressed, and the production of green hydrogen and synthetic fuels are implemented then. So you see in the table the share of renewable energy sources in heating and cooling. In 2030, the target is to have a 52% share. In 2040, 75%, and in 2050, the target is 84%. So for Greece, we don't speak about full decarbonization, obviously, but with a percentage of 84%, it is a very big proportion of the heating and cooling demand will be produced by sustainable practices. And regarding the renewable energy sources share in buildings, in 2030, the target is to produce 72% of the energy used in buildings by renewable energy sources. And in 2050, the ultimate target is to produce 95% of the total energy used in buildings by renewable energy sources. So here we can see a higher decarbonization goals, especially in buildings. And I would like to mention that especially for Greece, the 95% of the buildings in Greece are attributed to the residential sector. So they are residences, and this figure is very important, especially for Greece. Now, these targets will be achieved, and they are designed to achieve in Greece through heat pumps and solar thermal systems. There is no extension in the use of biomass for combustion in city buildings because the biomass may be renewable energy, obviously, but it would burden the air pollution in the cities. So all these figures are expected to be met by heat pumps and solar thermal systems. Now, regarding the energy efficiency in the building sector, obviously because the energy efficiency should be put first, we see the exemplary role of the public sector. We see a reduction in the final energy consumption of all public bodies and an annual upgrade of at least 3% of the total floor area of public buildings. At this point, I have to mention that the current upgrade rate of the residences and of all buildings in Greece is 1%. With the current rate of upgrade, we can see full decarbonization in 100 years. So obviously, the upgrade rate has to be increased, and the target for public buildings is 3%. To our minds, I understand that this is low, but at least it has been tripled since the last NECP. Also, the municipal plans for local authorities to reduce greenhouse gas emissions are introduced in the NECPs, and the reduction of primary energy use in residential buildings by 22% by 2035 is also introduced. And also, as we said earlier, we have a big increase in the renovation rate of the buildings, and especially in the worst performing buildings. Regarding the policies and measures for heating and cooling, for the uptake of renewable energy sources, especially for heating and cooling, is obviously the promotion of renewable energy systems to cover those needs, is the adjustments to building regulations. All this has been described analytically in the last NECP of Greece. The promotion of energy sharing, which we didn't see. This is a measure that we haven't seen in the last NECP. Coupling technologies in order to achieve maximum potential by renewable energy sources, and obviously training for installers and specialists and technicians in order for the market to be aware and to have to build the capacity in order to support the sustainable heating and cooling practices. Regarding the energy efficiency in the building sector, some policies and measures, this is a list of the policies and measures. I will stay especially in the direct production of heating, cooling, and hot water, which is especially focused at solar thermal systems and heat pumps. And this also, this addition of the wording in the Greek NECP promotes the direct production of heating and cooling technologies, and also it addresses the new energy performance of buildings directive, the renovation strategy for the residential and tertiary sector building stock, and the introduction of energy performance contracting by ESCOs. ESCOs are the energy service companies. So the projections for the heating and cooling, especially in Greece, we see the rest share in the final consumption for heating and cooling to be half of the total final consumption in 2030, and in 2050 we see that the renewable energy sources, the share is 85% of the total energy consumption for heating and cooling. And especially this is seen in the residential sector, and dividing this amount by fuel, you can see that the solid fuels and petroleum products are minimized, their use is minimized up to 2050, In the contrary, the ambient heat is utilized, which is heat pumps, in other words. So from 445 kilotons of oil equivalent, as we have today, in 2050, this figure will be tripled. And the projections in the domestic sector is obviously to decrease the final energy consumption. As we said, the energy efficiency has to be put first. The tripling of the ambient heat through the use of heat pumps and the slight increase of solar thermal systems up to 2050. District heating is not expected to play an important role in Greece for obvious reasons, and the split type air conditioning units will be slightly increased. All in all, the CO2 emissions from the residential sectors is expected to be minimized up to 2050 with 0.2 kilotons of oil equivalent, when today is 4.7 kilotons of oil equivalent. This is a platform that makes an assessment, a critical assessment regarding the NECPs and the targets. It criticizes the targets if they're ambitious or not in the final energy consumption and in the reserve. So for Greece, we have more ambitious targets in the final energy consumption compared to the old draft, but it is still above EU average. And regarding the renewable energy sources share, is also ambitious and above the EU average. Regarding Poland, this is one of the 5 target EU member states that the Ready for Heat project focuses at. So Poland has more ambitious targets in final energy consumption compared to the older draft, but it is still above EU average. And regarding the reserve is also the same and close to the EU average. Regarding Croatia, it is well above the EU average, the final energy consumption, and the reserve is below the EU average. The last country that we saw, it is Portugal. It is obviously above EU average compared to the final energy consumption and close to the EU average regarding the targets in the renewable energy sources uptake. Lastly, Germany is above average regarding the renewable energy sources uptake and also in the final energy consumption. So the findings, we have some good findings regarding the NECPs. They are obviously a powerful tool for the EU and its member states to drastically accelerate the climate action and the energy transition. The 2024 final NECPs that the Ready for Heat project reviewed showed great improvements compared to the older versions. And the renewable energy sources and energy efficiency targets have greatly been improved and better aligned. They are better aligned with the EU legislation, which is very encouraging. However, we have some bad findings as well. For example, we have some gaps and inconsistencies between the stated targets and planned measures. The policies and investments that are attached to the targets are many times unclear in some member states. The incorporation of just transition elements are often insufficient. For example, on the ways, on the specific measures on how the energy poverty will be addressed. The energy efficiency is not supported so much in some member states. Also, we have seen also the phase out of fossil fuels that they have been sometimes they have unclear schedule and unclear targets, and this was seen also in the case of Greece. And also we have gaps in the transparency and quality of data. Now, the ready for heat recommendations for further deployment of renewable energy sources is that the new NECPs include substantial improvements, but further work is needed to align with the European benchmarks, let alone with the Paris Agreement. So the first recommendation, and the most important, I would say, is to strengthen policy support and regulatory frameworks. And in particular, the rest targets for heating and cooling at the national and local levels should be aligned with the new Renewable Energy Directive and should be mandatory. Permitting procedures for renewable energy sources, heating installations should be simplified. The new building codes and renovation standards should incorporate renewable energy sources. And the second recommendation referred to financial incentives and support mechanisms, such as subsidies and grants for residential and commercial heating and cooling systems. Many countries already have this, and this is very encouraging. However, more incentives are necessary in order to achieve the high decarbonization and climate change goals of the European Union. We may need carbon pricing, taxes on fossil fuel-based in order to level the playing field. We need low-interest green loans and energy service company models for heating and cooling. Also, in the countries where district heating and cooling networks exist, those networks should be expanded and decarbonized in order to reduce losses and enable low temperature operation. Also, these networks have to integrate renewable sources like biomass, solar thermal, geothermal, or industrial waste heat, and fourth and fifth generation of district heating systems should be promoted. Heat pumps play a very important role, a crucial role in the heating and cooling decarbonization. I would say the most important one. So the acceleration of heat pump deployment should happen now. All countries should set national targets for heat pump installations, both air source and ground source. We have to see air source and ground source heat pumps as one technology, and provide training and certification for installers and technicians in order to ensure quality and support market uptake, because many countries have the market, but they don't have the installers and technicians to support the after-sales services. And also we have to incentivize hybrid systems that can integrate heat pumps with existing infrastructure. We have three further recommendations to foster integration with the power sector. This is called sector coupling, which is the promotion of power to heat technologies using surplus renewable electricity that all countries have now, to support thermal energy storage in order to align heat demand with electricity supply and to not to stress the grid, to develop smart energy systems for demand-side management and optimization across electricity, heating, and cooling. Also, another recommendation would be the promotion of local and community-level initiatives, such as the support of energy communities and cooperatives in deploying decentralized heating and cooling solutions, to encourage municipal heat planning, and to foster public-private partnerships for urban renewable heating solutions. Obviously, innovation and research is at the forefront of the technology and will encourage digitalization and automation in energy management and control of heating systems in order to deploy further the technology. So thank you very much. I'm ready to answer any question you have, either now or at the later stage of this webinar.
Thanks a lot.
Very much.
Thanks a lot, Rosie, for your presentation. And it's great to have had a clear idea of how we arrived to these 6 different recommendations that we are provided to the member states. And I really think that it's important to stress them also with the other countries so that they can have a clear idea of what we think is really useful for the sector to go on with the transition. And thanks for the comments. We will take them later because now I cannot see the chat, but I will continue with the next speaker. That is actually Silvia Remedios. She's a part of another project partner, ADENE, as you can see here, and she's graduated in industrial engineering, energy expert with a wide experience in the management of international and European projects in the field of energy efficiency in buildings, renewable technologies, and energy literacy, namely focusing on citizen and stakeholders engagement initiatives. Currently, she's working at ADENE as project manager at the strategy, policy, and project development department in European cooperation projects, namely Ready for Heat, and focusing on the renewable energy solution exploitation, energy poverty, energy and water efficiency in buildings. So Silvia, if you want to take control of the presentation.
Yes, I'm going to take it. Just let me know if
you can. Yes, great.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, it's working.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Francesca, for the introduction. So just to begin with, I just would like to give you just a short summary on ADENE's role in the Ready for Heat consortium. So ADENE is the leader for Work Package 4 that involved the development of the policy adoption scenario. So in practice, I'm referring to the action plan that was developed for each member state in the consortium towards the decarbonization of the heating and cooling sector. It also involved the development of the Knowledge Sharing Center that consists of an online platform that I will present today in more detail, and also involved the development of the capacity building initiatives. So these initiatives were aimed at the local, regional, and national actors that are actually active in the renewable heating and cooling sector. And the aim of it was to build up competences that obviously allow them to fully understand the potential of the recommendations that are provided in the policy adoption scenarios, and also ensuring that their personalization is viable at the national, region, and local contexts. So this said, as I previously mentioned, one of the main outputs of the Work Package 4 consisted of the knowledge sharing platform. So what is exactly the knowledge sharing platform? So I believe we can all see it as an online repository of replicable and adaptable initiatives that can obviously be tailored to the specific geographical, social, and economic context of each member state in the Ready for Heat consortium. So in terms of the resources, the materials, and lessons learned, they have been collected by the Ready for Heat consortium and made available here in the Knowledge Sharing Center, with the aim to inspire and to support the other member states in replicating and adopting some of these initiatives in their own real circumstances. Though this was the main goal, the main aim. So as for the tools and resources that are available, that you can find here in the Knowledge Sharing Center, they come from previous EU projects, also from national authority programs, NGO initiatives, and even private organizations. And as said, they aim to support public authorities or stakeholders that are involved in heating and cooling planning. So the most relevant content, I believe I can say it like this, of the Knowledge Sharing Center consists of the Heat Transition Toolbox that was actually designed to support national, regional, and local stakeholders during the heat transition process. However, the Knowledge Sharing Center also includes a wide range of resources, namely, as you can see here, policies and legislation, best practices, EU-related projects, and also studies and strategies. So in practice, how does it work, the heat transition toolbox? So when the user accesses the heat transition toolbox, so he has the possibility of selecting different filter options according to the tool's categorization. So these options actually include, as you can see here, geographical scope that can be national or local, sector of impact, and we are referring to district heating, residential buildings, non-residential buildings, industry, or other. Also relevant stakeholders, including governments, energy industry, private investors, citizens, municipalities or local authorities, and finally, the category. So if it refers to financial, technical, market and capacity building, policy, or other category. So just to give you an idea of the type of information that is available in the heat transition toolbox, you can see here an example of one of the tools. So this one actually refers to EU funding strategy for regional heating and cooling projects. It consists of a guide in the financial category. And as you can, I believe you can see, the user can actually access more information on this resource, on this tool, by visiting the website or by downloading a fact sheet that includes summarized information on this specific tool. Just would like to stress that the Knowledge Sharing Center includes in total 14 tools which benefit from a more detailed description, let's say like that, and I'm referring to the fact sheets that are available for download. And obviously, this can provide added value from the user's perspective. So this is how the fact sheet, at least one of the fact sheets, looks like for this specific tool. Obviously, I'm not going into detail, but the fact sheet comprises a specific section that it's named Tool Evaluation. So it focuses on 3 key points: how to use it, the key benefits, and also cost aspects that can be obviously of use, obtaining a more comprehensive assessment of a particular tool. So I believe that at this stage, just before I proceed with the slides presentation, it would be somehow relevant to ask, how did the Knowledge Sharing Center and the Heat Transition Toolbox actually supported the implementation of the Ready for Heat project? And just to give you a quick overview, so as I've mentioned in the beginning, so we had to develop, and I'm referring to all the member states in the consortium, we had to develop the policy adoption scenarios, so the action plans for each member states. And for that, we had to follow a step-by-step approach. So it began with the assessment of the baseline situation and the identification of the strategic policy priorities that better respond to the challenges and then the opportunities that were mapped in the baseline. All this initial work was done with the support from the national stakeholders group, the respective national stakeholders group in each country. So the next step consisted of the definition of the measures to address these strategic policy priorities, obviously using all other resources that were developed within the project, such as the key success factors, the best practices, the lessons learned. And we had a final step that included actually an additional layer of detail, and in particular, the tools and resources that can be used to implement those measures. And those tools and resources stem from the Knowledge Sharing Center, so and the Heat Transition Toolbox, and that I have just presented to you previously. So in sum, the contents of the Knowledge Sharing Center and aim to support the operationalization of the measures that were identified in each action plan, in the action plan for each member state in the consortium. How? By providing guidance to the member states to implement the measures using the tools and resources of the Knowledge Sharing Center, and including the heat transition toolbox. Just a final point, just to stress that from our perspective, the Knowledge Sharing Center should not be seen as a closed tool with no room for improvement. It should actually be continuously updated, also contributing to achieve even more robust assets that can support the heating and cooling transition in the member states. Okay, so I take also the opportunity to present an additional resource that we have developed within the Ready for Heat project that consists of the policy tracker. In this case, it's not included in the Knowledge Sharing Center, but in the project website. So it shows, pretty much shows the status regarding the transposition of the heating and cooling related EU directives into the national framework of the 5 member states in the Ready for Heat consortium. Just to remind you, we are referring to Greece, Germany, Croatia, Poland, and Portugal. I believe it's also a starting point to further research on heating and cooling policies of the participating countries. So in terms of the added value of this tool, I believe we can stress this 3 points. So it has a wide scope. It covers the central heating and cooling related directives from the Fit for 55 package, and I'm referring to the Renewable Energy Directive, the Energy Efficiency Directive, and also the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive. It has also a transnational and pan-European coverage, so it covers and serves most of the EU countries. And the main focus is to demonstrate the progress achieved by the 5 member states regarding the transposition of the EU directives. In terms of the advantages of this tool, you can see it as a user-friendly tool, I can say. It's easy to understand. It includes curated contents, and it can also lead to relevant national sources in the heating and cooling sector that can always be an added value from the actors in this sector. To finalize, I also included the QR codes in the presentation. I hope it works, just to facilitate the access to the Knowledge Sharing Center, and obviously also to invite all of you to explore it. So this is all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Silvia, for providing the presentation. Indeed, it was a great collaborative work between all the partners that really did it great. And we are also using it a lot during the different national workshops from the different energy agencies that are really trying to test it and use it with the different stakeholders. And so, yeah, now is your turn also to try it and let us know if, it needed some kind of improving or additional resources that we are going to add. But yeah, I will take back the control of the presentation. Thanks again, Silvia. And I will pass to Esteban. So Esteban Gas is the 3rd speaker of today and the last one. Recently graduated in European Politics, Policies and Public Affairs from Sciences Po Strasbourg, and had a first experience in Brussels in 2022 with the Czech think tank Europeum, where he strengthened his knowledge on decarbonization and the European Green Deal. During the first half of 2024, he completed an internship at the European Committee of the French National Assembly, deepening his expertise of EU decision-making processes. Now he's working at Solidarity Europe that he joined in October 2024 as a policy intern, and his role will be to support the policy team, particularly on the implementation of EU legislation at national level, to centralize knowledge for Solidarity Europe members and to participate in the relevant advocacy partnership. So, Esteban, if you want to take control of the presentation. Okay, great. Thank you.
Great, it's working, right?
Yes, perfectly, yes.
Great. So hello everyone. Thank you very much to be here. So today I'll be speaking about the replication workshops that we had in non-participatory countries, namely Belgium, France, and the Netherlands. So I'll be speaking about the organization of those workshops, then the workshops themselves, and to finish, I will mention the key learnings of the organization of these events. So to begin with the organization of the workshops, our first question was what's interesting for these non-participatory countries? What do those people want to hear from our project? What do they want to learn? What do they want to know? So we ended up with our answer. They want to have concrete elements from R4H, case studies, what they can inspire from, good policy frameworks from our participatory countries, and what they can inspire from, how they can use to change their policies in their countries and their habits on heating and cooling. So typically what we presented was the knowledge sharing center that Sylvia just introduced you. So this is something where they can find interesting examples, namely the heat fund in France, for example, where you can this is a good inspiration for Belgium and the Netherlands. Also case studies in Croatia, for examples. So yeah, things very concrete that you can inspire from. And then we had to find people to follow those replication workshops because these events were made for policymakers. So we contacted national administrations, local administrations, and people in charge of heating and cooling for Belgium and Netherlands. So those were our target groups, I would say, these people that deal with heating and cooling every day, so that they can learn about our project, they can learn about the people that participate to our project. And for France, it was a bit different for the participation because the workshop was held in person. So the person that participated were in another event, so we didn't have the same process, to be clear. But yeah, our aim for Netherlands and Belgium was local administration, central administration. And to finish on the slide, we had to divide the task between partners, of course, between the energy agencies, between the industry associations, between Trinomics also, who participated. So we divided on one side the knowledge sharing center and the heat transition toolbox. So it's the energy agencies, namely ADEN and DENA, who presented those works because they have a strong knowledge about the knowledge sharing center and the heat transition toolbox. And the second part of the workshops was presented by Trinomics or EIHP, and here it was rather about the NECP assessment because again they had a very strong knowledge on these assessments, on how it works, how you can present it, how it can help your organization. So yeah, we divided the workshops in two parts. One side, the knowledge sharing center and heat transition toolbox by the energy agencies, and on the other side, the NECP assessments by Trinomics and or EIHP. So now the workshops themselves, as mentioned before, the French workshop was held in live, by Nicolas Raimondi, that I thank very much. So it was in Paris. So he merged this event with Amorce, which is a big French association which gathers local authorities that want to involve themselves in waste treatment, in energy transition, in heating and cooling transition, water water treatment. So yeah, it's a very nice association. So it was a very nice event by Nicolas. But of course, the public was not the same than the one that we had for Belgium and Netherlands. So it was rather about housing and energy efficiency. So Nicolas had to adapt his speech during this event. And also people in France are often interested in the German example. So Nicolas had to also mention the German example and the public policies that are in place in Germany and how they make the transition of the heating and cooling sector. So yeah, he had to adapt to present a bit differently the things because the focus of the event was a bit different, and he really adapted his speech also to the audience because the audience was also different than ours. So yeah, what he mentioned was reducing coupling energy efficiency with renewable heating and cooling appliances. Yeah, so a very interesting workshop, and really glad that he had this possibility. And so as mentioned before, for the Belgian and Dutch workshops, it was a bit different because it was online. It was a standalone event. So we mentioned on one side the knowledge sharing center and heat transition toolbox, but of course it was online. So the focus was a bit different, and people came to hear about Ready for Heat and knew that this was the agenda, the knowledge sharing center, the NECP assessment guidelines. So yeah, we didn't have the same audience, but I think both formats have the benefits because people that came online were here for the Ready for Heat project, while in France it was a bit different because they heard about Ready for Heat while it was for another event, so it was a bit in between, but two really good formats, and happy to have had those both. To finish, what are the key learnings? Who came to these workshops? What we learned? I would say that we learned that it's very difficult to organize workshops in non-participatory countries, of course, because those countries you don't have their contacts, you don't know who to contact, so you try to contact everyone in local level, national level, but the thing is that it's hard to have a grasp with them because they don't necessarily know about your project, especially when you are at the local level. So you have this phase of explanation of what you do, how you can be helpful for them, how this project can be helpful for them, what they can learn on the knowledge sharing center, why should they come to a webinar to learn how to use this platform. But it's a really interesting process, I think, because I think the process is as important as the workshop because you get to know people, you also get to make them interested into the project so that they come to the workshop and they meet the participant to the project with Dena, Aden, Trinomics, and EIHP. So yeah, this was the hard part, to get in touch with people and to make them to make these events appealing because yeah, it was mainly lack of awareness, and but I think this gap we successfully did it. And regarding attendances, so as mentioned, in France, it was mainly people from the representatives from the ministries and a lot about local authorities, because once again, it's an association that deals with local authorities that organized the big event in Paris. So it was about local authorities, and this is interesting to get in touch with those local authorities, especially when you are a European project, because you have to bridge the gap between the European legislations and how you concretely adapt the legislation at the local level. So this was also learning from us to how can you explain the legislation and make understand the local policymakers that, for example, they have to adapt to the local heating and cooling plans, to the renewable energy sources targets, how they can reach those targets, how the local heating and cooling plans can be useful for them. So yeah, it was really interesting. How can we improve ourselves? I think it's a tough question because now we finished them and we are really happy with those events. But I would say that we need to have more contacts with the non-participatory countries during the projects, because those countries they come at the end of the project to get the replication workshops and to get the results of the project. But I think that we need to have few contacts with them during the project, to let them know what we are doing, and also to tell them, okay, in 1 year or in 2 years there will be this workshop, and to not only to have a contact at the beginning with them to know if they would be interested in a workshop in 4 years, but to tell them, okay, it's coming, you will have these workshops, and these events can be very interesting for you. You can learn there. So it's a bit of a process to keep contact. I'm not saying to email them every day, but just to keep a small contact with them, so that they don't forget about the project, they can follow the project. But of course, it's a very difficult task. So that's it for me. But I was very happy to organize these workshops with our colleagues, with our partners. And also for me, it was a way to learn more about the Knowledge Sharing Center, the NECP assessment. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much again, Esteban, for participating and for sharing the experience of the different replication countries. Indeed, I guess that there were different challenges to overcome, as they were indeed not the countries targeted by the project, but still very good results. Okay, so we have finished with the presentation part, and we can go with the Q&A session and the panel discussion. I see a couple of questions in the Q&A section. Maybe I will read them, and of course, if the audience has other questions, feel free to write it in the chat or in the Q&A part. First question is coming from David Capelli, and is regarding electricity prices. So, is there any attention and action related to keep the electricity prices low? Personally, I see the main issue to electrify systems and use is to allow access of stable, low electricity price. No advantage is to have green electricity, but expensive. I mean, plus 140% compared to competitive markets like China and US. A big action of EU is to work to ensure low electricity prices, at least in comparison to USA and China. I don't know if someone from the speakers want to comment on the electricity prices. For what concern, if I may, the heat pump sector, of course, for us is crucial as well, and we are always really trying to advocate to at least reduce the electricity prices, also compared to the gas prices. For us, is really, really important, and for the transition and for ensuring the deployment of heat pump technologies, we're really trying to communicate with the European Commission and to be sure that this will happen. For this reason, I think that there is an important document that is the Electrification Action Plan, where a lot is included there. But yeah, if someone else wants to comment it, Rosie, Silvia, or Esteban.
I have to say that on our side in Solahit is direct heating, renewable heating source. So we deal less with electricity prices. So I may not be the most relevant persons to answer this question. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Absolutely, I think that depending from the technology, of course, it's different.
Yeah, I would like also to comment for this question. Unfortunately, in this specific project, we focused at the heating and cooling, and I know that electricity prices are fluctuating a lot, and depend on various parameters that are geopolitical. However, this project did not concern the fluctuation of electricity prices. It mainly focused at how heating and cooling practices, direct production of heating and cooling, could substitute the electricity burden in the grid. So our project, what it did mainly concerning the electricity prices is how to support not to fluctuate the energy prices so much, because heating and cooling through direct methods, thermal energy methods, help to unburden the grid. But we don't have a direct answer to this question.
Thank you, Rosie. Maybe another question from the Q&As from Martina Battocchio. And thank you, Rosie, for showing the main findings, good and bad, of this project. It was very interesting to see. Related to this, my question for all the speakers is, what was the biggest challenge you had to overcome in the implementation of Ready for Heat? Thank you.
May I start as a coordinating organization? Okay, first of all, we have, as in all European projects that include cross-border coordination and complex with diverse stakeholders, associations, and we had different expectations across partners. So it is basically, we didn't face too much challenges and obstacles. It was a typical procedure of a European project. So I would answer that the challenges and obstacles we faced as coordinators really was relevant to a typical European project, which has a cross-national collaboration, cross-national communication, and we have some differences between mentalities and requirements among partners. And so it was, we faced typical challenges that European projects have in general. And these challenges, I would say, is the beauty of collaboration. One may think that, okay, I can do everything. I can do all the things that are included in a grant agreement in a European project, and I can do it very well. However, collaboration is a very enriching practice to us, to CRES, and I would say to all partners, because without collaboration, nothing can be done. We would not have any significant results. And this is the beauty of implementing a European project. It is not the technical expertise. It is not the problem-solving technique. It is that the grant agreement makes the partners sitting in a round table and discuss and propose solutions to a problem. So the EU projects may have many challenges, many obstacles. They may have deadlines which we have to meet. We firstly as coordinators, but at the same time, they have this beauty of collaboration and communication among all EU member states. And this is something that it cannot be paid and it cannot be measured.
Thank you, Rosie.
Maybe just to add something from our side also. So I totally agree with Rosie, obviously, and this comes from in other European projects, but in the specific case of Ready for Heat, as far as I see it, it's really, in some aspects, a difficult topic. So we are dealing with legislation and something that it's not fixed, and the strategies and the approaches in the different countries are not the same. We are moving in different speeds, so the stages in each of the countries are different, and sometimes it's difficult to deal with it. I mean, at least from my perspective, this was one of the main challenges to be able to develop what was written, as Rosie said, in the grant agreements, having this in consideration, that we are not all in the same stage and that we need to work together to come to more or less a common conclusion. But I believe we succeed. I truly believe we succeed and have done a really good job for Ready for Heat. And I believe the success is obviously related with the good cooperation and the collaboration that we had with all the partners in the consortium.
Thank you. Don't know if Esteban want to add something else, otherwise.
Honestly, I think Rosie and Sylvia were pretty comprehensive in this.
Yeah, we can echo them, I think. But it was really good also to see how we arrived to the end of the project. And yeah, it's true, overcoming challenges is part of the work, and I agree that we did it in a collaborative way. That is the most important, difficult, and also fruitful part. I think maybe some other question more focused on the presentation could be regarding starting maybe from the beginning, from the first one, to Rosie, if there are any differences among the EU member states in the strategies for decarbonization of heating and cooling. I don't know if you want to deep dive a little bit in this specific question.
Yes, Francesca. Yeah, obviously there are a lot of differences. Each country sees the decarbonization of heating and cooling totally in a different way. Okay, all of them, they have the EU directives and the EU strategies and the goals that they have to meet. However, in each EU member state, there are a lot of differences, a lot of local issues that that imply a different approach to the decarbonization of heating and cooling. So the differences among EU member states depend mainly on the current energy mix and the infrastructure of each country, on the situation of the building stock, if the buildings are old or new, if they are renovated or not, also their renovation rate, and also the policy situation. What is the state of the art regarding the policy and the financial incentives that are given in each member states regarding the implementation of renewable energy technologies, especially for heating and cooling. So to start, according to the energy mix and the national infrastructure, we see in Central and Eastern Europe heavy reliance on coal and gas. And also we see old and inefficient district heating systems, at least for now. In the Nordic countries, we see advanced district heating systems and largely renewable based. So we see an advanced technology there. Whereas in Southern Europe, as Greece, Spain, and Italy are, we see a greater focus on cooling needs, but not addressed in a renewable way, but more in a more practical way, giving incentives for split type air conditioning units. And also we see a slower uptake of heat pumps, but now it is a little bit increasing. Regarding the situation of the buildings, of the building stock, we see Western Europe, such as Germany and Netherlands, a large retrofit market. We see a very encouraging building codes and subsidies for heat pumps. So these countries are more keen on retrofitting. Whereas in Eastern and Southern Europe, we see slower renovation rates, but we see now that they are catching up with the EU funding measures, and especially through the Recovery and Resilience Fund. Regarding the policy situation in its countries, especially I would say the example of France, which France has a strong support for retrofits and heat pumps. We see in Denmark a specific ban on fossil fuel boilers in new buildings, and this is very clear. And in Germany, we see subsidies for hybrid systems and mandatory replacement of old gas boilers. So policy situation plays a great role in the approach, the methodology of how each country can approach decarbonization goals in heating and cooling. So yes, there are differences, and I mean, these differences are logical because every country has its own state of the art, has its own situation to face, and also not all countries have the same cooling degree days, cooling degree hours, and heating degree days. So for all these reasons, definitely we see differences among EU member states.
Okay, thanks a lot for the very, very complete answer.
I don't know if I include everything, but if Sylvia and Esteban wants to add anything, please, they're very welcome.
Thank
you.
You.
To complement what Rosie really well said, I would say that the legislations in the countries are very different, and even within the countries, it's not very consistent. So Rosie gave the example of France with MaPrimeRénov', which helps people to retrofit their houses and to adopt heating, like renewable heating and cooling, to help those houses to keep warm. But this scheme was stopped 1 month ago without delay, and it was stopped. And in the end, one week after, it was okay. We don't really stop the scheme, but we only reduce it, and we will come back a few months after to see what we do with this scheme, which was really used by people. So I would say that the policy inconsistency is not just in Europe, it's also within countries, that you have up and down, on and off, and the markets cannot follow those on and offs. And also to finish what Rosie said, I would say that she's totally right saying that some countries need more heating than cooling. Some countries need a lot of cooling during summer, like Greece, Spain, Portugal, for example, while Denmark, Finland need a lot of heating. And also the thing is that some countries have huge district heating demands, and they have big district heating. So you cannot have the same legislation when some countries have 10, 20, 30% of the heating with district heating. You cannot have the same needs. You need different elements to make the transition. While if you are a country that only uses electric boilers, gas boilers, so yeah, we have a fragmented market regarding heating and cooling. We have different habits, and even the implementation of European legislations are different and are not on the same page depending on countries. So it's interesting to study, but it's hard to understand how we can use the same pathway altogether.
Thank you for completing, Esteban. And as you were already speaking, maybe we can also connect to your presentation. Actually, would like to know if you can maybe identify the major differences between the different countries of the replication workshop, if there were in some more interest in the Ready for Heat project, or yeah.
I would say that one very important difference is that Belgium is not a centralized country, so we had very different people to speak with. So this was really interesting. While in the Netherlands and France, it's only one state, And regarding interest in Ready for Heat, I would say that France, through ADEME and through the Energy Agency, is pretty active in the heating and cooling sector. So yeah, it's very tough to answer, but yeah, the fact that Belgium is decentralized, it means that you have different administrations that deal with heating and cooling in not only one administration. So it means they know better the needs of the territories and of the local administrations. Yeah, so that's what I can say. And of course, it's different to say for France because Nicolas was there in person, and of course he had the contact with the local authorities. So he might say that in France the local authorities are also engaged into the transition, but yeah.
Thank you. Okay, thanks a lot.
Maybe just
Yes.
to add something, following Esteban, I believe he mentioned this in this presentation, but probably one of the key points here in terms of engaging the non-participating countries is to have them on board, not only at the end of the project, but in an earlier stage. So if you reach to them, if you pass the message and you reach out to the relevant contacts, at least at some point you will know what are the relevant contacts because you reach to them, you give them information. Obviously some feedback will come from these contacts and these meetings that you probably be able to organize. So I believe this is quite important for future projects to have them on board from an earlier stage. This is probably the key for success in order to have them engage at this stage and to be able to want to know more about the tools and the resources that we have developed and actually go to the next step, that it's replicating this in their own countries. At least this is how I see it.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, that's true. Thanks a lot for the comment, Silvia. And yeah, maybe just one final question for you, Silvia, regarding the Knowledge Sharing Center before closing. Maybe we can specify if the tools included, because sometimes people is asking if they are for free, if they are under payment, for how long they will be available on the website, if they will be updated. I don't know if you want to specify more about it.
Yeah, of course, I can add something regarding this. So I can say that most of the tools that are available in the Knowledge Sharing Center and the Heat Transition Toolbox are free access. So eventually, to have access to let's say an upgrade version or some additional features that some of these tools might have available, there might be some restrictions. But in any case, I believe that by contacting the entities or the organizations that are responsible for its development, it should be easily solved. Regarding the availability of the resources, and obviously you are referring to the project website when the Knowledge Sharing Center is accommodated. I would say that, as far as I know, the European Commission encourages projects to keep their websites online, live, after the end of the project, obviously to maximize the impacts of these projects. But as far as I know, it's not mandatory to do so, and there isn't a fixed deadline for this purpose. So I would say that in any case, partners should agree on the best solution for the consortium, and as much as possible, keep the website and other resources developed within the project alive for some time after the end of the project. And I believe this is what will happen regarding the Knowledge Sharing Center of the Ready for Heat project.
Thanks a lot. Indeed, actually, the website will be alive until 3-5 years of the project. Usually, these are the lengths that are suggested by the European Commission. So for sure, we want to still keep the resources alive there. So yeah, thank you for clarifying. And well, I think we are going towards the end of the webinars. If there are no other questions of the audience, maybe we'll share just the last couple of slides. Yes. thanks a lot to all the speakers who participated and shared their insight with us. Just for your information, the webinar is recorded, and we are going to send a follow-up email to all the registrants, not only the attendees, with all the materials, slides, recording, summary article, and you can also follow the project online. We have social media active, and last but not least, we are actually ending the project in September. So for this reason, we are hosting the final conference in September. It will be at the Mix Hotel in Brussels, half day together from 9:30 to 2:30 of the afternoon. The events will bring together institutional representatives, experts of the sector, of course, project partners. We're going to discuss different topics, of course, project results, but we will have also project synergies with the sister projects, and 2 different panel discussions with different moderators, and are now actually finalized with the organization, and we are very, very happy of the results. So here you will find the link to register. Please come. We will wait for you. And yeah, with this last call of action, I will simply close this webinar. Of course, if you are interested in EHPA, we usually organize different events like that for the different projects we work on. So please feel free to check them out and register if you are interested in the topics. And yeah, thank you very much for joining. Thank you again to all the speakers for their time and their expertise. Thanks to my colleague Sofia, who supported me. And yeah, I wish you all a good day and start of summer as well, as we are already at the end of June. And thank you very much. See you soon at the final conference in September. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francesca.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.